Sure, we have Alderman Pecorelli.
Here.
Alderwoman Day is excused. Alderman Craig is excused. Dennis.
Here.
John Howard.
Here.
Mira.
Here.
And Mohammed is excused as well.
All right.
We have a quorum.
We do. We have 4. That's why I sent the email.
Okay.
I
Join
pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that. Item number 2 is the citizens' comment period. I don't see them lined up at the door knocking to get in, so we'll go ahead and close the citizens' comment period and move on to item number 3, which is approval of the minutes from the meeting dated February 25, 2025, which are attached to your packets. If you had a chance to look them over, any comments or questions?
I move the minutes be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on approval of the minutes dated February 25, 2025. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item number 4. I think Danielle has prepared some information for us to review, which is related to budget encumbrances, moving projects or continuing projects from 2024 over to 2025. So Danielle, you want to give us the highlights?
Yes, so I put the memo together. This is the final of the budget encumbrances. I know that we did some of the departments last month, and this is the remaining departments today. It was Public Works, Parks, Sewer, Engineering, and Streets. So that's that's pretty much what you'll see on page 2 in the memo. These were the budget encumbrances, the POs that need to be carried forward that have outstanding balances and have 0 impact to the 25 budget. I did put in here that there's 3 recommendations. The first one would be to carry forward these purchase orders, again, with no impact to the 25 budget because it's funding from 24. And on the memo, you'll see about halfway down, I did note that the Department of Public Works came to me asking if they could take some of their operational expenses that were unused in 2024. They had a large surplus in vehicle fuel and maintenance support for their vehicles, and they're looking to purchase a UTV for both the police department and the DPW department to share mutually. And with that funding, they would be able to purchase one for roughly, I believe they said about $60,000 to $65,000 is the one that they were looking at. I did note that they have over $85,000 available. I know we don't typically recommend moving operational expenses to capital unless it's one-time, major expenses, major purchases, and so I said that I would bring that forward for recommendation. So that would be recommendation number 2. And then recommendation number 3 is page 3 of the memo, and so these are projects that require funding that were budgeted in 2024 but did not have a purchase order attached to them. And again, department heads have asked that these unused funds be carried forward. So I just provided a brief description. I'll just briefly run through them. There's 5 of them. So $70,000 to carry forward from the capital fund. That's for the fire department. It was for fitness equipment, and there's a grant that would cover 90% of it. So really it's only $7,000 of city funding that would be needed, but we would carry forward the full $70,000 with the grant funding to cover.
Is there a maturity or end date on that grant?
It's just an annual grant that they apply for. They applied in 2024 and did not get it, but they want to reapply and try and get it again in 2025.
Okay.
I'm requesting from the finance department, there was money in the budget to upgrade the Director of Finance's office. I have 3 desks that are all different shapes and sizes, old file cabinets, and then a purchase of a potential TV for financial display on the wall. I'd like to be able to do that because I have so many department heads that come in wanting to talk about funding, just anything, and trying to always maneuver my computers to talk to them and show them things. I just figured, something, some sort of bigger monitor on the wall might help. And again, that was something that was funded in 2024, but I did not get a chance to purchase any of those items, so I was requesting the $3,500 to be carried forward. The police department had roughly $300,000 in their squads budget for 2024. I think I briefly touched on this. They purchased 4 squads in 2024. However, now that we are engaged in the new fleet program, Enterprise actually purchased those from Hiller Ford instead of the city purchasing them from Hiller Ford, and then added them to the fleet program, which reduced the cost significantly since we're paying them on a lease now. So we wanted to carry forward that funding to now be provided for the leases in 2025. IT had roughly $20,000 in their computer equipment budget. The IT director has asked that that funding be reallocated to 2025 and used for training on both the Windows 11 systems and then the new Microsoft 365 Office training. I had a lengthy conversation with the Director of Administration on if that was actually needed or not. I personally feel that most people are computer literate and don't need Windows 11 or Office 365 training, but coming from the recommendation of the IT director, I said that I would make the recommendation for it to go forward, and obviously that's up to the council to decide. He said it would be roughly $16,000 to do a video conference and instruction training. It's about 2 to 4 hours for all employees.
May I ask, would that be a video that would be available to employees as needed? Or is it just like learn it all in one afternoon?
I believe it was a session where they would come in and do that type of training, have it here, and have it provided. There was some discussion about not making it mandatory. If there's department heads that feel or talk to their team and they feel that they don't need the training, that we're not going to require them to save the city money. But just knowing that that was the total cost for all employees, we would carry that forward, and then if it wasn't fully used, then we would just have that available.
We have tech commission.
So yeah, I'd definitely bring that up. And then the last thing, the Director of Administration has asked that her recognition fund that she didn't use in 2024 be carried forward into 2025, because her and the mayor were talking about an employee recognition event that they would like to host, and it would require that funding to be carried forward, because the money that she has in her budget this year I don't think will cover the full event that they would like to do. So that is the final request. So if you guys have any questions on the encumbrances or the carry forwards, if not, then it would just be a recommendation for the 3 recommendations to council. 1, to include the encumbrances in the 25 budget. 1, to do the carry forward requests. And then the last would be the one-time capital purchase and reallocation of the operating to capital expenses in the 24 or 25 budget.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm assuming the UTV would be specialized, like souped up or something.
To be honest, I don't know. I did
Okay.
ask the Public Works Director to provide me the quote so that I could present that to you guys tonight, because I had asked, what is your range, right? I mean, I don't want to carry forward 85 grand because you have it available and then have you go out and buy this, a super expensive
Yeah.
UTV. What do you and the police department need?
Yeah.
And provide me a quote. Well, I didn't get that, but I got an email saying that
Okay.
they felt 65,000 would
not-
suffice.
Would not exceed.
So,
60
yeah.
grams there.
So
And this, I'm presuming, is just to be used on special locations or remote events, whatever.
that was the interpretation that I got, that it would
Okay.
be for events and, again, yeah, if there was anything that they needed to use it for. I know that the fire department also has been using one for events and other things that the fire department is doing that they've been borrowing from the public works department. And then I don't know what happened to it, but they're requesting a new one.
All right, anybody?
I was just wondering if it would be less expensive to rent
Just during specific events.
if it's only for events.
You guys are absolutely more than welcome to not recommend that piece go forward, and I can come back with some more information or
I
more.
guess I would just hope that council would really inquire more.
I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and I would like to know what happened to the one they have. It got brought up during Civic because we rent golf carts for
Okay.
during Civic, and we were looking for maybe more cost-effective options. And I got brought up about the UTVs that.
How many we have? What?
Yeah,
how,
and
yeah.
can they got brought up that we might be able to use those and then maybe not have to have so many rentals for the golf carts and stuff like that.
So this may be a way that they're trying to do that instead. But yeah, absolutely. Like I
You can
said,
see
we can.
St. Martin's Fair and some of those events where you got a little more ground to cover, and even the
Yeah.
police, if they had some kind of large, you know, police, even event or whatever, and it's remoteness or whatever, but, yeah, I think good comments.
And honestly, I wasn't even thinking of events when I first saw it. I was thinking of going through like the parks, the county grounds and stuff. But then
And
again,
it could be, like I said, if they may have multiple uses for it.
that's why I was wondering, do they put like first aid, you know, like their medical
Yeah.
equipment on it? Is that what brings the price up, or, you know?
So I'd be happy to get more information and bring that back to
As long
you
as
guys.
council has the
Yeah, I think
information.
If it's just so you get a better understanding before you approve it at that level. I mean, it probably makes some sense, like you said, even some of the trails and so forth. If the police want to, you know, make some rounds of it or whatever, weekends, holiday weekends, activities going on, larger crowds, whatever.
Okay.
Anything else? Comments? Otherwise, I think we can take a motion on those three items, and we can add that request of additional information be presented to council.
So moved.
Except as amended, yeah.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion and a second on the three recommendations with the amendment to include additional information on the UT purchase and usage. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Danielle, for
You're
that.
welcome. And then the next two items are just information only and discussion. So wanted to provide a update to the new TID law, especially because we have some projects that are in the works right now or having discussions at City Hall about projects coming forward that may require a TID to be created. So in 2023, Wisconsin Act 12 was enacted. I put in here that it provided additional supplemental state aid in the shared revenue program. It eliminated personal property tax, but we did get the addition to personal property aid. There's innovative funding and grants that are now accepting applications for consolidation and transfer of services. Those applications for municipalities with a population of 5,000 or less have to be submitted by April 1st, I believe. And then there's no date yet on the population of 5,000 and more. So, but I have reached out to department heads about seeing if there's any way that we may be able to take up some of those grant opportunities. And then also they provided changes to TID law. So in 2024, any TIDs that are created after on or after October 1st, 2024,
Right, yeah.
are subject to a reduced levy limit benefit. So I provided the example here for previous TIDs, which would be our TID 5 through TID 9. The existing TIDs that we have now are not impacted. So we'll continue to get our levy limit increase equal to 100% of net new construction on TIDs 5 through 9. And then at TID closure of those five TIDs, we will still get the one-time levy limit increase of 0.5% of the final incremental value divided by the TID out equalized value, and so I put in there. So for TID 4, when we closed that in 2023, the city got a 0.578 increase bump to their 2023 levy. Now the TIDs that are created after October 1st, 2024, on an annual basis will only get 90% of new construction, not 100% of net new construction. And then on the back, there was a change to the TID closure piece. So the one-time adjustment is going to be reduced from 50% of the final incremental value to only 10% of the new construction that occurred in the TID from the time it was created through its closure. And I put a little graph there to kind of show the difference. So how things are now, if a TID closed prior to, or TID's created prior to 10/1/2024, if it has $15 million in incremental value with the TID out equalized value, at the end of the TID it would have a 1.5% increase. The TIDs created after would now only receive 0.2% because it's only 10% of the new construction through the life of the TID. I wrote it down because I didn't think about it, but I went back and did the calculations for the TID 4 closure. If it was a TID that was created after October 1st, 2024, our percentage was 0.578% increase to the levy. It would have only been a 0.059% increase. So you can see the difference of closing TIDs that are created after 24 versus the ones created before 24. The new law did provide an incentive for closing a TID early. The Joint Review Board now has to provide a closure year in the approving resolution now. That wasn't needed before, but it is in the TID resolution now, because if you close the TID within 75% of the projected closure year, then the final 10% closure adjustment increases to 25%. So, like I said in the illustration above, we would get 0.5% levy increase versus 0.2% if we close our TID earlier at the 75% or less expected life. I don't know how beneficial that's going to be for us. Looking at the TIDs that are coming forward, we have a few that seem to need all 20 years or 27 years of the life to suffice. And so when it says a 20-year TID would have to close within 12 years, with the projected closure in 12 years, we need to close by the end of year 9. I don't know how often that's going to happen for us.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. For years, it's not been,
That's not a lot.
usually not been the issue. Usually takes longer, costs more, and you get inevitable surprises along the way. So Eilers is obviously working, will continue to work with us as our advisor on this stuff, right?
Correct. So we have been engaged with Ellers for years now, and then we also have engagement with SB Friedman, who has been doing some feasibility testing and financial analysis on a couple developments that we may potentially be bringing forward. I know that SB Friedman did some work on the Karma project, and they've done some other projects for us as well as around other municipalities. And so I know two projects that might be coming down the pipeline. SB Friedman is doing some feasibility testing and financial analysis for us, but we've decided to continue to use Ellers for our TID creation and financial analysis with those.
So we don't have any currently that are in the fourth quarter or more recently of 24 created, right?
No, the last one we had was TID 9, which was created by October of 2023.
Which is the Karma,
Correct.
76th Street, right? Yeah.
But I will say, like I said, the projects that we have coming forward, I think we have at least 4 TIDs that, or I should say 4 projects / developments that are requesting TIF assistance and TID creation for their developments. We just haven't made headway on bringing them forward just yet.
It appears the net impact of this is to probably make these a little less attractive. So
I
that's
would
kind of the
believe
bottom
so,
line.
yes.
It almost looks like, are these more focused to try to do redevelopment in some respects?
Yes.
The reason, because it gets rid of the net.
The net new construction, it's only
the
the construction over the life, yeah.
Well, in many places, yeah, raw land is
we're kind of unique.
right. So the only way they can is tear something down or start over, or major modifications or whatever.
And so just thinking about, even our levy limit to be so limited on what we can increase our levy by, and now this is diminishing that even more.
Yeah.
Doesn't really benefit us
It would
much.
be interesting to kind of see, because obviously Franklin's not going to be alone in this new pond, if you will, and how developers and whatever will react, and if it's geared at getting more equity in from the ownership of Frank, or what the major impact will really be.
Well, and they're beneficial for development in a city, right? But I think it's obvious that over the years it has become so prevalent, and developers requesting instead of providing developments on their own and using
Right.
their own capital and all that. They're
Exactly.
looking for municipalities to basically help
Yeah.
fund and break even.
You have to be a partner in every deal, right? Just about. And I think,
I will say the one thing, I had just talked with Ellers last week, one of the projects we're bringing forward, and when we talked about this, he did say that I believe legislation is looking at repealing this, whether it's all of Act 12 or portions of Act 12, but the TID portion is definitely on the agenda.
the
And
radar.
he said that he's already been requested to go speak at the state at Madison or whatever about it, and he's like, I'm the first one to to repeal this.
Well, it'll be interesting to think of, Bucky's that Oak Creek is dealing with right now, and that whole scenario. I happen to have just a little bit of knowledge on them. I think when they were in front of the municipality in just north of Madison, where they were.
Forest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were they had their list of demands of what they wanted, and was going to be TID financing and whatever. And they had, I was told now, when reading this, I was told that they not only wanted the infrastructure and the highway and their own exit and whatever, but they wanted the forest to fund half of their building costs.
Oh, wow.
That ain't happening.
Well, they're probably looking at it as a win for the city, right? I mean, can you imagine all the people wanting to go be around a Buc-ee's? The closest one is 500 miles
Yeah.
away, so.
So I think it'll be interesting to watch how this may or may not proceed in Oak Creek. Thank you for that, Danielle.
Yes, so that was all that I had on that.
And it looks like you have some comments for us regarding in-process year-end audit.
Audit, yes. So,
Bless you.
again, I just wanted to provide a little update on how the audit process is going, as well as the reconciliation process. And for some of you, I know, Mira, you're new, and a couple of the other, Mohammed, to just bring you up to speed on the city's audit process. So, year end comes and we immediately start, doing what we can to make sure that we're moving 2024 expenses back from 2025, and just trying to get our trial balance up to where it needs to be at year end. And providing that to CLA, that is who our auditors are, through the 2025 fiscal year. I believe we signed a 3-year contract with them with a 2-year extension. So February 17th through the 19th, CLA was on site. They did some preliminary field work. They did performance testing on a lot of our AP, went over some of the reconciliations, started to work on the PSC report with Tom. They do our PSC report with Tom's help. Tom helps provide the information, but CLA is the one that does the PSC report for the city, and that gets filed by May 1st.
PSC is
Public Service Commission. Yep. Oh, I probably should have put that in there. So for the water utility. So they did that. We had some communication on the internal controls pathway and where we were going to go with CLA providing some assistance to us on that. We decided to wait until the reconciliation project was done because they were still reviewing some of the internal controls, how they might be able to assist us and give us some guidance on where we could go moving forward to make sure that the reconciliation process is completed on a timely basis, as well as prevent some of the material misstatements that we've had in the past. So helping us with that and helping with the reconciliation of the balance sheet as well, and doing some of those journal entries that have not been done in the last few years. So they are still working on the reconciliation process. It looks like the completion of that to have 2024 reconciled should be April 4th. It was initially supposed to be the beginning of March. However, I expressed before that they ran into some complications with just the amount of activity that we have in our pooled cash account, and the transactions going between the tax account and the general checking account. So they're still working through that. Like I said, should be done by April 4th, which gives them enough time to prepare to come do the final field work April 14th through the 18th. So they're going to be on site during that time to finish up the final testing, provide us the internal controls process and pathway, and those discussions, review of the reconciliation project and how we can move forward with that, and then also help prepare the financial report, the municipal financial report, that is due May 1st. With the automatic extension done by May 15th, we typically file that every year by May 15th. Again, the auditors do that for us. I provide them the trial balance, and they do the MFR by May 15th. If that's not filed by May 15th, I did just want to put it in here because, again, some may not know that the transportation aid can decrease with a penalty if the financial report isn't filed by May 15th. So that's one thing, as well as like the maintenance of effort report. Our state aid can be penalized if we don't get that done by July 1st. So there's some upcoming reports that have to be done in a timely fashion. Otherwise, we do jeopardize some of the aids that we have. So we have that coming up. The amended financial report, so it's basically a preliminary by May 1st if your audited financials are not done yet. So they provide a preliminary one, and then they are able to amend it, which they do for us at the time that the audit is complete, and then I submit the final one or the amended one, as well as the audited opinion and financial statements from the auditors by July 31st. This year, our projected timeline is to be done by June 30th, if not sooner. So I do anticipate that being done by then. My preliminary results, my trial balance, everything should be done by next week. I'm just about done. I have a few more entries that I need to get done. And then CLA will provide any additional entries after that. But with that, they should be able to get all of their work done April 14th through the 18th so that we can get those audited financials by June 30th. And then I anticipate presenting those to you guys by July 22nd. So if you have any questions on that or want any further discussion.
I know the reconciliations have been a thorn.
Very much so.
I don't know if that's the right word. John is laughing over there. But are we using, I know over the years with the software we've purchased, we've got tools, reconciliation tools and whatever. Are we using all of those, or is CLA gonna help us or assist us in getting, I guess looking forward procedurally wise, I guess, or I guess, how do you see where we are now, where we need to get to, and how's it going to work going forward?
So, yes, CLA is going to provide feedback. I don't believe that BSNA has the reconciliation software. We do it all manually. The deputy treasurer does her own internal spreadsheet, and then when she's done reconciling it to the checkbook, she then gives it to Tom, who reconciles the checkbook to the general ledger, but they both are working off of their own spreadsheets, and there's got to be some more cohesiveness. So I anticipate CLA being able to help with that. We're all going to sit down, the CLA, myself, and then the two people that do the actual reconciliation process, to see if there is some sort of, whether it's a dual spreadsheet, it's a reconciliation software, it's something that'll get us to a point where this should be done on a monthly basis and we're not back 3 to 4 years.
The software doesn't have a reconciliation module in it?
BSNA might have one that they offer, but we don't use one. We don't contract with BSNA for a reconciliation software or a module within the software.
Wow.
Well, I would definitely put that on the
Yeah,
list
Yeah.
for
look at
CLA,
that, that's for sure,
because they would
because
know
all
other
that
municipalities that are
information's already
using
there.
it and how they do or don't.
Well, and
It's gotta save time.
right. When I was working in Waterford, we used QuickBooks, and so that has the reconciliation module
Yeah.
in it, which makes it
Sage
easy.
does too, they all have.
So, and I assume that BSNA has that. Like it's just a process or a module that's never been used.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, all these spreadsheets, I mean, that's how MPS got into trouble and everybody else, county,
Yeah.
SDC.
yeah. So, other than CLA, if you guys have any recommendations, I'm all ears. Because we have so much activity, I know it does get tough to be doing that like on a daily basis. We have so many transactions that trying to come up with a way other than using good old Excel spreadsheets to get it done on a monthly basis. I'm just not sure.
That's not the way to be doing it.
No.
No.
How are you doing on catching up? Are you, other than the reconciliation thing, are you pretty well caught up?
As far as just in the whole finance department itself, yes. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
So there's no reason that you're gonna be behind the 8 ball on completing this audit on time?
no.
Okay,
Not at all.
you have all the positions in your staff filled?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I have a very competent staff. I do have 2 retirees that are probably in the next year or 2. So that is something I need to be looking forward, because they're both my management staff. So, and they're my both senior people, you know, otherwise I don't have many years in the finance and treasury department. So it's going to be tough losing the 2 of them and all their
Yeah.
institutional knowledge.
Right.
Well, if you get behind, get a temp in or something.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I was
well,
wondering
yeah,
too.
last-
Do you have enough, manpower, or do we need,
No, I think things are pretty well caught up. I will say, the thing that I struggle with the most is being pulled in 100 different directions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new or newer department heads that may not have the experience, and so I feel a lot of it falls on me and is
Right.
relied upon me.
That's why you need a good, strong system.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so I just sometimes feel, like I said, I'm pulled into meetings I probably don't need to be in and things like that. But it keeps me in the know, right? So I like knowing all of that, but it does sometimes pull away from the normal duties to get done. So I have learned to delegate a lot more. And like I said, I do have a good staff that picks up when I need them to. So
well, and it's gonna ebb and flow as every department kind of rolls over and changes over. You're gonna have those because they don't have that history or knowledge, so they're looking for advice. Where do I go? Who do
Yeah.
I, all right. Well,
but I'm confident in the audit for this year that we should absolutely be done by June 30th.
CLA must have some ability to recommend something on a better way to do those reconciliations.
Yeah, and that's something that we're gonna all sit down and discuss after they're done with the project. So I would assume during that field work time that they're here in April, that is something that we plan on discussing.
because I just kind of remember, and John, maybe you're this closer to your bailiwick, but even when we were adding some of these BSA pieces, even the purchase orders and credit card, all that was supposed to be able to feed and get better or quicker reconciliation, because again, I know that Paul was talking about, the volume of transactions and whatever, this stuff it should all be working toward more efficient. And it sounds like we still have a little ways to go yet.
And I think it more or less it fell behind for so long that it was just, I don't even want to go back and try and, do years and years worth of reconciliations. And so to have CLA get us to the point where, my staff hasn't even touched anything for 2024 so as far as reconciliations go. I say, you guys do what you need to do. We'll let CLA do that. And you guys stay completely up to date. Every transaction recorded, reconciliation starting January and February, and talking to them today, both of those are done. We don't have any outstanding, items that haven't been recorded yet. And so they have been really trying to make sure that starting 2025 is
I would
up to
even
speed.
look at implementing some kind of process before this is all done, because, it's gotta help you get the project done quicker.
Yeah.
Just doing it by spreadsheets, man, it's,
Well, that's one thing I'll take away from this is go back and, like I said, look and see what BSNA has to offer as far as a reconciliation tool. I know that they have to have some sort of tool module. It's just how is it going to, how can the two of them get it to a point where it's done efficiently and not taking hours and hours or days out of the month to get done,
Right.
and then it's just done right in the system and it's not done through spreadsheets.
Well, even the banks now, they have the ability to download, their-
Import the bank statement right into, yeah.
Right, and then you just match the two and you're done.
The one thing that I do find hard though is, like I said, when there's so many transactions in a day and there's so many modules, right? So the building department and the inspections department, you know, they use one specific module that feeds into the general ledger and into cash receipting, and then the clerks use their business licensing module to create invoices and take payments, and then, you know, finance does miscellaneous receivables, and so all of that has to feed into cash receipting
Well,
and
it's all
into the
gotta be
general ledger.
integrated though, isn't it?
It is integrated, yes, but I'll just use this as an example. So the building department is the module, but inspections uses it. So when they take permit payments or create permits and invoices and all of that, it doesn't move over to the module until they have to submit. It's weird. They have to like journalize everything, and if they're not journalizing everything on a daily basis, it could be days, weeks. There's just that breakdown of all these other engineering is in BSNA. All these departments have different modules that will feed into it, but if they're not doing things on a consistent basis, it's not feeding into the system on a consistent basis.
Well,
so
yeah.
that's how some of
It
the
takes
reconciliation
discipline.
things could be outstanding. And
If they're supposed to be doing these things to close things in, they gotta do it.
Right.
yeah,
Or else
so
you're gonna have a mess, which is apparently what you got.
what we have, yes. So coming up again, the internal controls in the process to make sure.
Because these outside departments will not have the same motivation, you know,
Right.
stuff closed.
Right. Well, CLA should be able to be a resource, and I mean, whether it's other municipalities or whatever, I mean, our size can't be the only limitation.
Right.
I mean,
The
number of
only problem
transactions.
with that is how good of a guy do they have assigned to this thing is probably the lowest guy in the totem pole.
Well, you might
He's
have
not
to,
about to make any innovations at all.
yeah, well, that's probably where you have to come in and make sure
Yep.
you're.
And we
saying-
have bi-weekly meetings with CLA and their team on the process and or progress of the project. So
Well, and there too, maybe even if we've got, I don't know what knowledge we have of other BSA users that, you know, you may be able to connect with or whatever, and, you know, just, you know, how are you guys handling this, or, you know, what do you find that's working well or doesn't work well, or, you know, sometimes what doesn't work well is more important than
no one does, right?
yeah, I mean, you kind of know where the snakes are gonna be, if you
Or,
will.
and then the other one would be is how do those others get the other areas to get their whatever they need to that point, right? So that you have that information.
Right. It's usually money funding if something gets held up or not.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, that usually gets their attention.
Don't take Inowashi.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of that squeaky wheel. You hate to say it that way, but
But it's gotta be.
it just, if those are the procedures, you know, whether they have somebody on vacation or whatever, I mean, it does, you
Still
know,
gotta get done.
it's still
Yep.
got to get done. I mean,
Yeah, my books don't get held up because you're
right. So,
Well, I mean, that was a serious thing the way that happened last year.
yeah,
A lot of
Oh, yes.
delaying.
yes. You wouldn't want that to get out to the
No.
investment community, you know, too much, or
No.
realize that, hey, that, you know, because if they want to start coming around and kicking the can, and opening up a bunch of worms, you know, that's all. That's probably one thing you surely don't need to have to deal with as well. I think,
Operating people don't always appreciate the need for the finance.
yeah.
until they can't operate.
Until they can't get what they
Don't
need.
get a check.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for that sharing, Danielle. We will continue to look forward as that unfolds here in the next few months. There's quite a laundry list, I think, on your,
On my future agenda items, yes. And I was going to add one, which is I'd like to just provide the update on the impact fee report. I know that usually goes to council by the Director of Administration,
That's a good idea.
but
yeah.
I think I did it last year, and I don't mind doing it, so I will bring that forward as well. I have that on my agenda, and then if you guys have any items you want me to add.
That hopefully should add a little relief, I'm hoping, from the park side anyway, with the latest activities, right?
So the parks and the water, yeah. Those two have a pretty hefty balance. But parks is good through at least 2026 now as far as rebating and refunding.
Alright.
And then water impact fees, 51% is eligible for the water tower project, and that project is roughly a $9 million project. So to date, we've transferred about $3.5 million of water impact fees, so that's really helped. And then we're just paying debt service on the other ones.
Looks like they're making some progress on that now over there.
The water tower, yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to come together.
We also have a meeting next week, just off of the impact fee. It's in the budget to do an impact fee study. I know the mayor and Kelly have been wanting to look at, the impact fee study that was done last in 2020 had a lot of projects on there, and we're collecting impact fees on a project plan that really isn't feasible anymore. And it's
Valid anymore.
So we're going to meet with Rupert Milkey, who's done our impact fee studies in the past, next week to bring a contract forward to move forward with looking at all the impact
Abating it.
fees except the water and sewer, because we just did that one last year. So for the alders, expect something on the agenda in the next probably month from us on that.
Sounds good.
Anything else that anybody has to share? Otherwise, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Having no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again, Danielle.